Investors. And today we have a bunch of questions that we're going to address. So before we get started, number one, if you're not a member of Burr Cashflow Investors, make sure you become a member and invite your friends, invite your family, because remember, the giveaway this time is the airplane tickets. So for everybody that is not aware of it, every couple of months with Burr Cash Flow, we give away a prize. The first one was set of appliances. The second one was a trip for two, which was a cruise. Now, the third one this time is tickets for two people up to a $2,000 value. And so if you invite your friends, if you're a member, and if you invite your family, you get a chance to be able to win the tickets. So make sure you invite them, be a part of the community. The best part of the community is we have different topics we cover. We'll answer questions. It's, in general, meant to be for all of us to grow. And there's absolutely no pitch in the community. The whole point of it is what are different thoughts, what are different things that we're doing so we all as a community can grow. Having said that, let's just let's jump into it. So the first question was, Oscar, I'm looking to begin the process of flipping a house in Dallas-Fort Worth market. Can you give me information on a group of investors I can join in the area? Thank you very much. So the first thing I would do, Oscar, if you're going to be in the Dallas-Fort Worth area is look up all the RIAs. There's two or three really good real estate investor associations in the Dallas market that are doing a great job. And I would go there. I would not buy anything. I would just go and absorb. And I would try to find out where people are doing flips, what flip areas are working the best, because Dallas-Fort Worth area is hotter than hot when we talk about, in general, people migrating to that area. And then you want to decide what pocket of Dallas do you want to do flips in. So you may have some subgroups in that area that you may want to join. Another thing, Dallas has a huge community of some awesome wholesalers, right? Net Worth Realty is there. They do a lot of wholesales. There are other few big operations in that area that do. So I would not only get in touch with the flipping community or the investor community on that end, I would also get in touch with people who are wholesalers, people who have deals coming up, that sort of thing, because at the end of the day, you want to find the best deals. And one of the best places to do that is there's tons of groups on Facebook that you would go join. Now, just understand, a lot of the properties that wholesalers will send you are, sometimes may not be the best, but guess what? There is a lot of gemstones that you can find. So you want to network, you want to be with them. So you look up, first thing you look up is any of the meetups and any of the RIAs, local real estate investor clubs online. Secondly, join all the wholesale groups around Dallas-Fort Worth, in general, Texas area, because there's loads and loads of them. And that's the place I would start. And the thing you want to look for is, what I would do is, if you can work with a good agent, because in Texas, it is hard to get public information because they don't disclose the sales prices. Some of that kind of information they do not disclose. So what I would want to know is, what is the turns? Because the numbers have changed a little bit as the interest rates have gone up. Still, the market is hot. But what can I buy properties for? What can I sell them for? And what is the absorption rate? And what price range is selling the most? And what part of town? So that I would really focus on if you are thinking about Dallas-Fort Worth. Next question was Wesley Smith. Thank you, Wesley. Was, do you invest in Gary, Indiana? So currently, I do not invest in Gary, Indiana. I know a few people from Mastery that do invest in Gary, Indiana, but you have to be careful with Gary, because Gary has had a little bit of a checkered past in terms of crime, in terms of people kind of running away from it because of the economic issues it has had. Now, having said that, there are pockets where you can still do rentals, where you can still do okay with it. You just have to be very, very careful. Now, having said that, Northwest Indiana, in general, it is one of the hottest of the hot pockets, right? Period. And I have to admit that I did not realize that as quickly as I should have. But the challenge becomes is how many places do you go? How many places do you invest in all at once? It becomes difficult. So that's something that you have to keep at the back of your mind, that you can only do so many things at a time. So, but Northwest Indiana in general is phenomenal. Even in Gary and some of the pockets over there, people are even doing some Airbnbs. I mean, as shocking as it is, as surprising as it is, because you have Gary, you have Hammond, you have a lot of those pockets over there that are phenomenal pockets, right? You have that pocket called East Chicago. That town has some decent properties that you can pick up. Hammond had some great opportunities that you can pick up, and in Indiana, especially the northwest part, I mean, it's just exploding, and it continues to explode. Even a place, I mean, obviously Valparaiso is pretty decent. You have Chesterton, you have all the other stuff just south Maryville, and all that area is obviously exceptional, great schools. But even going to Michigan City, the other day I was in Michigan City, and I know there's a few people that are doing Airbnbs there. Now, the environment over there in terms of kind of the looks of it, it's a little different. Let's just put it this way. But then again, people are making good money with that sort of situation. So there is a lot of opportunities, but you're going to have to do your homework, especially if you're going to invest in Gary specifically. The next question was, do I need a LLC to invest in real estate? So you do not need a LLC to invest in real estate. All an LLC does is separate the assets from you. So, Joseph, can you do me a favor? Can you just turn this for a second, please? This way. So basically what that means is that if you are investing in your personal name, so it's husband and your wife, if you're buying a property, the title is going to be held in your personal names, right? Todd Jones, whatever your name is, it's going to be held there. If you open an LLC and you put that particular property, say property number 1, property number 2, in that particular LLC, now LLC is two things, right? Number one, it provides a, think about it like a lockbox. You put something inside of a lockbox, meaning unless you open the lockbox and you get something out, it is owned by that particular LLC or a S Corp, either one is fine, and it is contained within it. So it serves two different purposes. One is separation, right? And then two is asset segregation. So it's separation from you, because a lot of times people confuse this stuff. They say asset protection, asset segregation, and asset allocation, meaning different sectors. These are different things, right? This is, if just because you put a property inside of a LLC, that is not asset protection. That's an asset segregation, right? Because that is very different than the liability from that particular thing. These are different things that you have to keep at the back of your mind. So we segregate it by having it in a separate LLC. Then by having insurance on top of it, you're protecting your asset with that insurance, right? If something happens in a property, somebody slips, falls, gets hurt, something happens, right? So at that point, what is it that protects it, right? So the protection is provided by insurance. When you've put it in a LLC, you've segregated it from you, you've separated it from you, and the LLC is the owner of that particular asset, and you're a member of the LLC. In turn, you control that particular asset. But this is important to understand, that you don't have to buy the property in an LLC. You can buy the property here in your personal name. At some point, you can decide to quit claim it into that particular LLC. And when you do quit claim, just please do it properly. Go to Fidelity, get insurance coverage, title insurance, so that your title insurance does not break the chain of title, so you don't have anything at risk. So it's just important to keep that in the back of your mind. But that is called asset segregation, right? and asset protection is going to be provided by, if you're putting some insurance around it, right, which you're obviously going to do, that is going to protect that, because then the insurance company is providing you that protection. So a lot of times people think they have to buy a property in an LLC. You absolutely don't, right? If you're insuring the property enough, then you're good, right? There's nothing wrong with it. Obviously, as you start having more and more assets, you want to separate that. You want to run it in a different business entity. And then there are other advantages to it in terms of taxes and so on and so forth. So that's the reason why we separate that as a LLC. So we can come back now, Joseph. So let's actually, I can just do it here. So the next thing, the question was, how am I going to find an ARV, right? So it depends. If you're obviously a real estate agent, it's fairly easy. If you're not a real estate agent, even then it is not that difficult. All you're going to do is you're going to go into Zillow, or you're going to open Redfin. That's all you're going to do, right? You go in there, and then first thing is you're going to put the name of the town that you want to be in. So you go in, open the app or open the thing, you put in the name of the town and state, and it's going to basically draw a boundary. That's step one, right? The second thing, so you're going to basically have a general idea. The step two, what you're going to do is, and this is how we do it in Mastery, then you're going to look at the section of town that the property is located. Meaning you can have a pocket of town where the prices are high. You can have another pocket of town where the prices are low. When we are comparing properties, what is the formula we're going to follow? Okay, so the formula that we're going to follow is, it's called like kind, meaning, what does that mean? Like kind, meaning similar properties and similar type of properties. So you're not going to compare a single family to something that's a duplex, right? Because those are different. They're not like kind of properties, right? And then you're going to remember 6, meaning less than 6 months old, that are the sales, and also 1, right? So like kind 6-1 formula. If you just remember that, like kind 6-1, what does that mean? That means that I'm going to compare to like kind of properties, meaning properties that are similar to the one that I'm looking at. Number 2, it's going to be 6 months that I'm going to go back in terms of my sales history. And then 1, meaning it needs to be less than a mile radius. So here's something to think about. In Mastery, we call this area selection. So here's something to think about. If I have a town that's something like this, and you have, like, say, I'll just use the example Bellwood. You got Maywood here, you got Hillside here, you have Berkeley over here, and you have a highway that runs over here. So generally, we're going to take the main highways, main roads, and divide the town, right? So I have pocket number 1, pocket number 2, pocket number 3, pocket number 4, pocket number 5, and 6. This is how we do it. So now, first thing I'm going to understand is, where is the property located? So that's going to be our number 3, which is if the property is located here, now I'm going to know, okay, and this is something that comes from area selection, that this and this pocket in Bellwood has a floodplain. So is the property located in a floodplain? Because today, if the property is located in a floodplain, guess what's going to happen? Your insurance premium is going to shoot up. It's going to be higher by $200, $250. You're going to have a hard time flipping that property. So when you're doing your ARV, you need to know that. So the third thing that we're going to do is, first was the town, meaning where we're located. Second is like kind of property. So when I'm in Zillow, I'm going to go and basically click on one of the tabs. It's going to give all the properties selected. If I'm looking at a single family home, then I'm only going to select single family homes. Next is number 3 is going to be the price range, right? Excuse me, price range. Price range is not something that I'm going to select, right? Because if I know the section of town that I'm going to be in, I'm going to look at the entire inventory. And either I'm going to look from low to high or high to low. Either one is fine, right? But I'm not going to look at just the ones that just came on the market first. I'm always going to look at low to high. What that's going to do is that's going to give me, hey, properties, 2-bedroom, 1-baths are selling for, say, 180, right? And I know 3-bedroom, 1-baths are selling for 230, 240. Or if it's 1.5 bath, it's going more closer to 260, right? That's what I need to know. So the reason I go from high to low is that in Zillow, it'll give you step by step, I mean, it'll give you all the properties, either low to high, high to low. And you're going to start going up in prices. And what you're going to start seeing is, initially you'll see properties, if you go low to high, properties that are messed up, need work, that sort of thing. Now you're going to start seeing, as you start down, you're going to start seeing properties that are already fixed up, right? So now you can start looking at it, oh my God, this property sold for this property sold for this, and you're going to take all the outliers out, because there's always a property that sells for a ridiculous amount. A 2-bedroom, 1-bath, somebody bought for 280, right? God knows why they bought it for 280, but that's not where the area is. So when I'm looking for ARV, right, what I'm going to figure out is, okay, what town am I in? What section of town am I in? And I'm going to look at comps in this section that are similar, right? So if you say I have a property, Andrew, that's a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, and the comps you're looking at are 2-bedroom or 3 bedrooms, most of them are 1 baths, then for half a bath, you may get a little bit more. You're probably not going to get a whole ton more, but you'll probably get a little bit more. Then, do you have a basement? Do you not have a basement? Is it finished? Is it not finished? What is traditional for the area? So generally, I'm going to try to compare it within a mile radius in this section of town, because that's where I am. I'm not going to compare this area to here, because generally here in Bellwood happens to be a lot of multifamily properties. So generally this is not as nice a part of town as this is. So when I'm looking at my ARV, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to first look at solds. So when I do low to high, I'm going to first look at sold properties, and then I'm going to look at active, meaning what is the competition on the market. So second, I'm going to look at active. So I did the town, then I did like kind, 6-1, which is in last 6 months and 1 mile radius. Then I arranged it, sorted it by high to low, sold properties, then active properties. And then the third thing I'm going to look at is pending sales, right? So I'm going to look at, hey, how many properties are under contract? How many properties are getting ready to close? So if I look at the town and I see, oh my God, in this particular town, in the last months, there have been about, say, 60 sales. And right now, active, there are, say, 21 properties. And pending, there are 32 properties. What does that tell me? Well, that says clearly the properties are moving over there. There's only 21 for sale, and there is 32 that are pending sale. That means this, even in today's market, this is a very strong, fast-moving market. Now, if I see the numbers a little bit differently, where let's just say my number of actives is 55, and I only have 16 pending. What does that mean? What that means is that the prices are going down, meaning not as many people are getting properties under contract, right? That's what that means, is that, hey, not as many people are getting properties under contract. So I'm going to have, even though the market maybe been pretty strong, but we're going into a down market because not as many properties are going under contract. So what does that mean? Probably there are going to be price reductions. So that's how I look at that market. I hope that helps. The next thing is, this is an important one. This comes up at Mastery all the time. If you're somebody who's investing in real estate, how do I use proof of funds? So think about this. As a real estate investor, right, when the market, even today, properties that are priced correctly, even in today's market, they're selling. And they're selling like hotcakes, right? And this is important to understand, that when they're selling like hotcakes, who's the person that's going to win? Number one, obviously, it's going to be the price. If it's listed on the MLS, that's a big thing, right? Because the sellers are like, hey, what am I going to get for the property? Now, next thing is going to be terms, meaning, are you paying cash? Are you asking for financing? What type of financing are you asking for? Is it a hard money loan, or is it coming from a traditional bank? So number one preference is going to be always cash. Number two is going to be a hard money loan. Number three, everything else, right? Because who knows if the loan is going to go through, if it's a regular bank loan and the property needs work. So generally what we suggest is you do step number one. Step number one is pick up the phone and reach out to Harry or go to National RE Funding. So that's National RE Funding, right? So when you go to the website, just fill out the form. Harry will issue you a proof of funds, meaning that based on the information we have collected from you, and it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free. And based on that, he can get you a proof of funds that you have. Now, is that proof of funds as good as a funds in your bank, right? It's not. But it is a place to start. It gets you going. And when we all started, and this is how we do it in Mastery also, that's what we used to use because we didn't necessarily have the cash in the bank. Now, for me today, it's going to be obviously different, but I have grown to this place, right? I was not always here. So a lot of times when you have to submit, you submit it with proof of funds. Hey, I'm getting a hard money loan. I'm approved. Here's the letter. You can call Harry and check with them. And if you have any questions, please let me know, right? So that's how we submit that. And whenever we put it in the Illinois market, around Chicago, with the contracts, it says it has three options. You're going to pay cash. You're going to allow financing so you're going to pay cash or you're going to allow financing. So that's the one we always check, is that pay cash or allow financing. And the third one is we're doing a traditional long-term financing. So we always go with number two. That's what we suggest you use because you're not going to have cash proof of funds probably in your bank when you're new. So the way you substitute for that is you use hard money. If you're from Mastery, please reach out, let us know. We'll be happy to help you with it. If for some reason, if you're from Mastery and somebody says, we just cannot absolutely give you the property because you don't have cash proof of funds, talk to your private money lender from Mastery or reach out to us so we can help you overcome that process. And we do it all the time. If you're not, then you're going to have to talk to somebody that you know, if that's the only way. Now, most of the times, that's not the only way they're going to sell you the property. Sometimes that does come up. So that is something that you have to think about. Now, last question that we're going to address today is about a very specific property. So this particular property happens to be in Port Charlotte, and this happens to be somebody that is from Mastery as well as from Mastery Elite, and they found a property in Port Charlotte that had some hurricane damage, and the hurricane damage was basically significant enough, and the homeowner did not have any insurance on the property. So clearly, they've had tarps on the property, and it's been bad because the property got some mold and so on and so forth. So here's the scenario on the property, and the question is, what should I do, right? Should I basically should I basically take over the homeowner's payments and then fix up the property? What should I do? So the situation is that the homeowner owes actually, let me write this down. It'll be much better. So, okay. So the homeowner owes basically to the bank $252K for this particular property, right? Now, they have not been making any payments, and they haven't been making any payments because they basically, number one, let their insurance expire, right? I don't know how the bank allowed that, but apparently somehow the bank basically missed it that the homeowner had quit paying insurance on the property. And they had done another thing, which is that somebody advised them that put the property in a LLC. So the property was quit claimed in an LLC, and there's no insurance on the LLC to cover that property for homeowners insurance we're talking about, right? And so what happened was this. Now, because they haven't been paying, the bank is saying, unless you get us 21.5 on this particular property, we're not going to reinstate the loan. We're going to go ahead and foreclose on the property. Now, the interest rate on this is 3.1% interest rate, right? The amount of money that it's going to take to fix up this property is about $35,000 or so in terms of rehab, right? So this person basically had done a mailing for people that were behind, that are in foreclosure, and it happens to be that the property is people have moved out of it because there's mold, there's other issues going on. Now, having said that, the property is not in bad condition. They just don't have the money to be able to fix it up. So the first solution, what this person thought about was, well, Andrew, the interest rate is so low, 3.1%, right? They bought the property a few years back, and it's a great deal. I can basically buy the property, according to this person, and buy it as a subject to. So I want to give you guys that example. So sub to is what a lot of people call it, but subject to existing mortgage is really what it is. So what does that mean? That means you keep the existing mortgage in place, you take over the homeowner's payment of at a 3.1% rate. Now, besides that, you're going to have to catch up the mortgage payments that are due and the past payments, which is 21.5. So my point to them was this: why would you do that? Because if you did that, you would have to bring 21.5 to the table. Then on top of that, you're going to have to bring another 35,000 minimum. So now you're going to have 6 and 5. You're going to have 56,000 in the deal, right? Now, their point was, but Andrew, I get such a good interest rate that I can lock in this rate, and at some point I can sell the property, or I can keep the property for long term. I'm going to have great cash flows. And I'm like, well, do you have an extra 56,000 to spare? And how many properties can you buy this way? They're like, well, yeah, but I was trying to do subject to. I'm like, why would you do subject to? Well, just because there's low interest rates. Guys, you don't do a subject to deal just because there is a low interest rate. You do a subject to deal because it makes sense, right? That's the only time. And in fact, most of the times you should not be doing a subject to deal. In this case, this person can easily get a mortgage on this property from Mastery. They can get a private money loan in 10 seconds, right, on this property. Why? Here's what is important. Remember, what did I say in the beginning? The amount of money that is owed on the property is 252, right? The property already is in foreclosure. And here's an option that they failed to work on, was that because that area was considered, because of last year's storm, a distressed area, the bank is offering them a 168,000 on a payoff. It's assistance, right? And I'm like, hey, man, this is a no-brainer, dude. You basically go and borrow money from Mastery. You borrow 168 plus 35,000. So you'd be borrowing somewhere around 200,000. You're in the deal for 200,000. You borrow the money as a private money loan. Forget about doing a subject to. Subject to makes no sense. This property right now, as we speak, on the back end is worth $350,000 all day long. In fact, the house literally adjacent to it, they just got an insurance claim settled, and they just sold that property for $362,000. Exact same home, right? So it makes much more sense in this case just to borrow the money. And I'm like, you can flip it out like that, or you can keep the property and you'll end up in a much better situation. See, a lot of times people hear all of these things that, oh my God, subject to is so great. Well, it's great in some situations. It's not great across the board, right? So you have to always think about, what is my highest and best use of money, and where am I going to get the best yield? In this particular case, the best yield is going to be zero in the deal every single month. It will cash flow like no tomorrow. And in fact, they should be doing an Airbnb on this property, because this one is going to make a lot of money. Hope that helps. Again, this is Andrew Holmes from Burr Cashflow Investors. Send us your questions. Send us if you're doing something interesting, you're doing something fun. We would love to share that with everybody, and that will be fun. If you're not a member, make sure you become a member and invite your family, invite your friends. Because remember, the giveaway this time is 2 tickets for you and your loved one, whoever wins. So if you invite 30 people, 40 people, your chances of winning go higher and higher and higher each time. And just because you won last time, so there were 2 people that won, Miss Amal on one and Trinidad on another one, doesn't mean you can't win again. Because at the end of the day, it's just your odds based on how many total people you've invited. We'll put all of them in a hat. And then if you invited 10 people, they joined, then you have 10 chances of winning. Having said that, this is Andrew. Talk to you soon.